not talking to that older than from a long time. Grandfather get big.
Proceed, Senator Knight.
Thank you. Thank you, President. President, I rise to support the bill. And I want to make it abundantly clear that I am in support of the bill because of what it aims to achieve. I'm not in support of the bill because it is presented by the government. I have some independent thoughts. And I would say this. I wore this shirt because I am told that it looks good with what is on the outside. And I am told that it fits me nicely. President, I am pleased, having heard some of the senators on that side who were senators between 2007 and 2011. And I want to rename this chamber Damascus. Because the scales have fallen from their eyes. Amazing. I want to make a few comments on presentations made. Senator Malahoo Fort said that the government is in a bind. No, Senator. The country is in a bind. Not the government. The country. The last time a government was in a bind in Jamaica was in 2010 and 2011, which resulted in an election in December 29. That is because the government was in a bind. Because the country felt that they had a government that could not be trusted. And so the government was in a bind. Now the country is in a bind. And the government has the task of leading the country out of that bind. And in this regard, Senator Tufton is correct. There needs to be collaboration between government and opposition, private sector, NGOs, civil societies, the entire society. The unions have demonstrated that they are stepping up to the plate to help to get the country out of this bind. And unless there is a recognition that there is in fact a crisis, it doesn't make any sense for us to say there isn't a crisis. There is a crisis. And when one is in a crisis, Senator Alex, one has to do extraordinary things to get out of that crisis. And in doing extraordinary things, don't believe that you're taking the wrong decision. It must be reasoned and reasonable. And I think both are applicable to this situation. Reasoned and reasonable. Now, sorry, sir. Now, sir, I heard Senator Mallow, who fought also, to have said this. She said that there was much public outcry. There was public outcry. I don't want to put any degree on it, but there was. There was a group formed called CAPI. Its membership I don't know. I don't know. I don't know whether it's comprised of contributors and non-contributors or what. What we do know is that the court action showed that the person who filed was not a contributor.
Was not a contributor.
And I don't know if we can really call it a national outcry if the person is a contract individual in the premises of a political party. I don't know. But let it not be thought that there are not contributors who support this bill.
I support.
Some came to my office yesterday and said they wanted to join into an illegal action, give support. I said to them, no, don't bother that. Don't bother that. And so, as we know, sometimes you give up fees for what is right. And it just hit me. Look, the vast majority of Jamaicans are likely to be in support of this bill. I tell you why. Because this bill is not about taking money and frittering away. This bill is about getting resources to be used in a budgetary process to be appropriated in the same way as their taxes are appropriated. I am talking about from the NHT. When in 2005 money was taken from the NHT, the statute was amended and it was taken specifically for educational purposes. So the history, and I don't want to be political, but the history of this administration is that if it tells the nation that these funds will be dedicated to a particular purpose, that will happen. That will happen. What? This is not servicing debt. This says
Fiscal consolidation is an investment in the future.
It is making a contribution for the above mentioned period. That's what it's doing. Now it goes on to say what the contribution will be used for. Importantly, this contribution will enable the government to undertake necessary expenditure to bolster social and physical infrastructure. So I pause. Is that a good thing?
Yes, it is.
So, if the money is being used to bolster social and physical infrastructure, the money is being used for investment purposes. Don't tell me it is not necessarily true. That is what is expected. And this is why we have checks and balances. This is why in the lower house it is expected that the 63, at least 62 of them, I mean the speaker, parliamentarians there will ensure that it is used for this. So the budgetary exercise to come in April, Mr. President, is of extreme importance. And there is where at the finance committee, I expect that members will pay attention to each line item, because it is in that analysis that they are going to know. They are going to know whether or not there has been a reduction, and if so, drastic reduction, for social and physical infrastructure. If that happens, then the government has a question to answer. And it says, particularly in areas where construction is being undertaken by the NHT. Now, the NHT has certain responsibilities under the statute. The central government has other responsibilities other than those in relation to housing, construction, etc., than the NHT. So where the construction is taking place and the government in carrying out its social responsibilities expends money on this, then that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's a proper thing to do. As a matter of fact, we have not often done this. So to embark on this now is a new road, a proper road, the right road, and the one that should cause us on both sides to be at one. This legislation calls for the people's elected to be on the road in a united way, telling the public why this is happening, and asking the public for support. We have passed the point where we come in now with all this legalese. That's behind us. Why is it behind us? Because when there was the public outcry, the government did not depend upon its legal advice, as it has to do. Legal advice. The government took a policy step forward. It said, based on the legal advice, we can proceed as we are proceeding, as announced, because of the statutory platform on which we stand. But the government said, out of an abundance of caution, and in response to public outcry, we are going to do what the Constitution empowers us to do. And President, that with respect It's one of the reasons why I'm supporting it, because it shows responsibility. And it shows that the voice of the people, however low the decibel level, will be heeded. So I am here comfortable in my mind that I am doing the right thing by supporting this bill. You know, this is why we boast so much about our democracy. The democracy operates on the principle of the majority. That's what it operates on, the principle of the majority. But what has happened here is that in operating on the principle of the majority, there was no stepping on the rights of the minority. And that's what I enjoy. Now, in analyzing this, what we have to look at is this. As a contributor, am I being denied a right? Is my right being abrogated? No contributor can say my right is being denied, because there is absolutely no indication that if after my 7 years have expired and I go to the housing trust to get a refund, I can't get it.
That's right. Fully reserved.
Naval time.
Oh, naval time. Lunch.
Time for lunch is now.
Mr. President, it's 1:20. We are not yet complete, and I would ask that we extend the time of the sitting beyond 1:30 to allow us to complete the business of the day.
The question is that the time be extended for the business of the day to be completed. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Carry on, Senator.
Thank you. Thank you, President. Now, the highest we have in this situation is an anticipatory breach. And it is on speculative grounds. Because there is nothing to indicate that my rights under the Act to be the beneficiary of housing options provided by the National Housing Trust will either disappear or diminish by virtue of the statutory amendment. So it is based on pure speculation. But here it is. No, you wouldn't take out all the money for two reasons. You don't need all the money, one, and two, you don't want to kill the housing trust.
That's right.
And it's just
You don't want to kill the housing trust.
contribution.
The senator president says to me when I say we don't want to kill the housing trust, are you sure?
Yeah.
No.
We built it.
Why can I say we are sure we don't want to kill it? It is an institution that has worked well since its inception. And an institution which has the potential to continue working well into the future. So you don't want to do that. And we have to be careful. We have to be careful of wolf argument. Because in 2005, the $5 billion that was taken for education, there was a wolf cry, it's going to die. It's going to die. One of the wolves who cried amended the law to allow the government to get funding from the NHT, but did not use it. Did not use it. So I want you to be very clear in your mind that when you're putting forward your position, it must be understood it is for a good thing. It is necessary. There are safeguards to ensure that the use to which it is to be put is the use to which it is put. Now, the IMF program. I quite frankly was one of the happiest persons in 1995 when we ceased our boring relationship with the IMF. I was. The administration that reintroduced the IMF did so because in its best judgment the IMF was necessary because of global dynamics. Global dynamics. Has that changed? Has it changed to the point where Jamaica today can say we do not need to be in a boring relationship with the IMF? I think not. So then, if it is an imperative that we be in that boring relationship, what we have to do is to negotiate the best terms. And ensure that the preconditions are met. Because it's no sense saying, oh, there are alternatives. There are alternatives. You know? I says, no. There's no sense doing that. And you know, this is a telling question you ask. Because as you asked it, you were perplexed and bemused. Because clearly you had thought it through. And what the conclusion you came to is that there wasn't any alternative. That's a conclusion. And I am of the view there's always an alternative. There's an alternative B. But the alternative B is such that it would plunge the country into a predicament from which it would be more difficult to rescue than with an IMF agreement. No, sir. It's not a matter, senators have just taken money from employees. No. It is a matter of taking money from employees to be used for the benefit of employees. That's what it is about. Benefit of the country. And therefore we must support it. Now, I keep hearing this phrase, the law is not a shackle. And I'm told that it permeates the psyche of the country now. You know what should permeate the psyche of the country? Is that the law is not a shackle when it comes to social engineering. And it is not. And that is why parliaments are given the power to amend laws and change laws. That's why you do it.
That's why we
So in this instance, Senator, what this administration recognized that it was shackled by the law as the law exists. So it has to look now at its parliamentary powers under the Constitution of Jamaica. And having looked at it,
no, that's not what he said. You can't understand. So, forgive me.
Mr. Senator,
Learn some law from him.
Senator, a person who is told, look, what you're doing is either wrong or could very well be wrong, and proceeds, is an idiot. An idiot. What you do in those circumstances is you have another look at what you're doing, how you're doing it. And if you find that there is room for doubt, then you pursue another path. And that's what this administration did. This administration said, whatever is necessary, we're going to do it because we need the money. So.
But there's nothing wrong with it.
And I'm going to show you that you agree.
I don't know. In analyzing the case, personally, I don't think it's a trust. I don't think it's a trust at all. It's called a trust. You can call anything a trust. Anything. That doesn't make it a trust.
That doesn't make it a trust. Calling it a trust.
I don't think it's a trust. But I agreed in my own mind that without reliance on the Public Bodies Management Act and Accountability Act, the path would have been unlawful. And though that act takes supremacy over other acts, I agree with the approach not to depend on that act, but to amend the act that deals specifically with the funds from which you want some assistance. And then, one of the things, President, that I had to look at is, was this going to be of unlimited duration? And I noticed no. And it's in keeping with the scheme of these amendments, because the amendment in 2005 was to be treated as a one-off for education. And what happens here now is that it is for a specific 4-year period. And you know, what we should be looking at, and I'm going to try and look at it briefly, is that after the second year we should need the third drawdown. That's what we should be looking at. In other words, our minds should be riveted on growth. What is it that we are going to need to do? So we don't want our minds. We don't want our minds to be locked into today. Open them. Open our minds. And see what role do we have to play to ensure that if it lasts 4 years, that's it. But that it could be shortened. That's what we have to do. So the review chamber as we are, is not simply to look at some words written on a tablet. We have to look at the dynamics of our society. Yes. Because the law is not there simply to excite lawyers. The law is there so as to provide a better society. When we lock our minds now into some legal textbooks, we forget our role in this chamber. Because the truth is, it is true. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I used to do childish things. But now I can look through a glass darkly. Because I've moved out of one purely academic setting and moved into the real world where I understand that whilst it is always the case that the law must be made in accordance with the supreme law of the land, always the case, it must be understood what is the policy that drives the legislation.
Members' time for speaking has expired.
Sir President, I move that the Senator's time for speaking be extended sufficient for him to complete his presentation.
The question is that the member's time be extended sufficient for him to complete his presentation. All those in favor? Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Senator, proceed, please.
Thank President. Thanks to my colleagues. I'm not going to abuse the privileges accorded to me by my colleagues. Now, I want to look at some things here. I'm satisfied that the objects are clear, that the nation is in crisis, and I'm satisfied that what is before us is what is required, and that it is being done in accordance with the Constitution and the powers given to the Parliament, the legislature, that the policy at this time is a sound one. Now, what we have to look at those who are murmuring and saying, oh, well, you're using contributors' funds and so on. We are in this together. When the unions and the public service representatives and workers generally decided that they were going to forego a wage increase, it was based on a recognition that the country is in crisis, and to get out of the crisis, what they were doing, their contribution was necessary. So I know that there are thousands of contributors out there in NHT who identify the crisis and say, government, here I am, call on me, I am willing to help. Because if they don't do it, when Housing Trust keeps all this money and builds some houses, the only people that are going to get in there is squatters. That's when you're going to talk about layoff of 30,000 public servants and more. That's when you're going to have a situation existing where private sector are going to start to lay off. Well, it will accelerate. So what we have to do is to take a holistic approach. As the utilitarians, John Stuart Mill, Jeremy Bentham and others would say, for the common good. Now, sir, I want to look at another aspect. They say it's expropriation. Well, we can make short shrift of that because I've already dealt with it. Expropriation is where you're taking away someone's property without any compensation. No property is being taken away. None. And the truth is that they can't say my right is denied or abrogated. So it doesn't arise. Expropriation does not arise. President, let me tell you how I look at this. You see, after we pass this bill, I am going to be listening to the budget presentation. Because in the budget presentation, I want to hear a growth strategy. It's not beyond us. I want to hear some more about the logistics hub. Because if the logistics hub becomes a reality, then using this $11.4 billion, $45.6 billion would be a good thing. I want to hear how we're going to position ourselves in relation to Panama in 2014. So I want to hear about the port, the development of the port. Because I know that if we carry through with that, then that is going to assist in a sustained way for growth. And taking this money from the trust would be a good thing. I want to hear about how there are going to be synergies between NHT, Housing Association, is Association Authority, Housing Agency of Jamaica, and the Urban Development Corporation. Because these three agencies, if they establish the appropriate synergy, can assist greatly in the growth process. What I want to hear, and what I want to see is a relationship between the UDC, which is a large landowner, and the farming community. Because I want to know if some of the lands UDC has, if some of those lands couldn't be used for the cocoa farmers, for the ginger farmers,
Carrot farmers.
because cocoa and ginger are, we have a comparative advantage.
Growth strategy.
What I want to see is how those synergies can work. Because agriculture is a key part of any growth strategy. Small farmers they're a part of small business.
Yes.
And there must be emphasis on small business. In developed economies, there is an emphasis on small business. In ours, there must be. And that is what I want to see. I don't want to get us in a situation where our minds are so locked into whether or not it's right to take out 11.4 billion per year. I want to get us in a mode where we're saying what good can come out of this. And how are we as parliamentarians going to ensure that the good we see that can come out of it will in fact come out? That's what I want to say. So rather than being here and behave as if we are remorseful, we should be evangelists, trying to take the country with us. Not to talk in some not I withdraw the word not to talk in some way as if we are locked in a lecture theatre. Sterility has no place in this parliament. It doesn't have any place. A-N-I-L-E.
No longer.
But I withdrew it. Now, Mr. President, in closing now, I want to see, for example, the UDC working with investors to use UDC lands to help to ease the energy burden on our manufacturers. Because unless we ease that burden, they're never going to be competitive. And so land and money must always be used for the betterment of our people. It don't make sense. You have a heck of a bank account.
Doing what?
You're not feeling well. But you don't want to take out some to go to the doctor. And if you take out some to go to the doctor, you say, well, you know something, the rest I really never put on there to go buy medicine. You know. You're going dead. So we have to get ourselves in the mode of using all the resources available to us in a creative way for the benefit of our people. And so, President,
Vote for it.
I sit, and when I'm called on to vote, I will do so as a PNP person. I will do so as an independent mind. I will do so as a parliamentarian, and I will do so as a citizen of Jamaica, doing my duty to ensure that I contribute to the development of my people. Thank you.